If you have seen anything of what Escoffier's kit is, you probably can guess that the answer to whether or not Escoffier can be a main DPS, and by main DPS, by the way, I just mean, you know, on-field DPS, because, I mean, look at these animations. They're fun. She whips her polearm around with her tail, and she's got a nice, pretty-looking charge attack, right? So, obviously, I think there's some fun utility in trying to do some on-field things with her, and yeah, she should be able to be, at least, I haven't tested this yet, but I'm like 99% confident that she should be a pretty compelling DPS in various forms. And I'm actually talking outside of just her Hydro Cryo teams too, but we're going to start with the Hydro Cryo context because that's the simplest one I think most people may gravitate towards, but she might be a better Melt DPS than you expect. Although, wait a minute. We got to check something real quick. All right, zoom in, select the hat. Yeah, I knew it! Ha! Okay, so my first plan for DPSing her, I want to use an Infuser. So we have the options of course, a Hydro Cryo team. We have the options of Candace, who does Hydro Infusion, or we can do Chongyun. And you might say, well, she's a Cryo DPS. Chongyun is obviously the correct option, right? Especially because I have Shenhe. I could do something like Shenhe instead of Sitlali, and then Chongyun instead of Candace. Is that not more, like, proper? In my opinion, no. One, because I think less people have Shenhe than have Sitlali, realistically, at least in the current state of the game. And two, it's not really better, even with Shenhe, because of the way that Shenhe's buff is a flat buff that's used up on a per-character basis. Any of the character's cryo attacks use up the buff, so when Escoffier has her little skill going, right, hitting 1 time per second, if we add Chongyun, like, Infusion to that and start doing normal attacks, all that happens is we use up the finite amount of Shenhe's buff quicker, right? We're getting the same total buffing from Shenhe for Escoffier's cryo damage, regardless of if we're doing a cryo infusion or not. Which is to say there's really not any benefit to doing Chongyun, other than I guess he reduces cooldowns. Candace, on the other hand, does have a little bit of normal attack damage bonus in her kit, which is nice. She also should be able to do some off-field damage. In particular, I have C6. She's not going to be doing insane damage, by the way, because I've chosen to put her on Noblesse. Why? Because, you know, if we're more focused on buffing, you know, this is not a, you know, very strong build, but she'll still do some damage, okay? More than my Chongyun would do right now. I'm working on Chongyun in the future. Don't worry. I think there's fun potential with Chongyun. It's an option for, you know, doing on-field DPS Escoffier. Don't let me stop you from doing that. But also, Sitlali, when we're putting Candace in, is a lot easier to use here. I have her signature weapon and her C1, by the way, so that's going to inflate the normal attack numbers and the charge attacks a little bit, by the way, in particular. Keep that in mind. But this weapon gives me rotation flexibility compared to Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers, where you switch off the Sitlali onto your, you know, on-field character, Escoffier in this case, and then she would get a 48% attack buff, right? And that attack buff actually can be better than Sitlali's signature weapon in this team context because there's a relative lack of attack buffing, right? We don't have any Bennett or Eonson available in the Hydro Cryo context. So TTDS could actually be better here, even with me having Sitlali C1. If you use Chongyun and you want to trigger the 4-piece scroll set, you have to, like, you know, since you're doing 3 cryo units, to trigger this set, you need to trigger a Hydro reaction, which is freeze. And to do that consistently, you're going to have to, like, do Sitlali after Farina. In this case, I'll be able to do Sitlali after Candace or before Candace because I have her signature weapon. Point being, I think this team will work very well without the constellation I have on Sitlali and without her signature weapon. You should use TTDS, and then you just rotate from Farina into Candace, into Sitlali. You'll trigger 4-piece scroll. You get Hydro damage bonus, and then Candace is doing the normal attack buff, yada yada. I like the idea of doing Candace more if it's not obvious. My Escoffier talents, by the way, are not fully invested. There's a buff in the Abyss anyways for Escoffier, so like she's going to be really strong regardless. It's only a buff for her skill damage, to be clear. Farina is going to be on a normal buffing build for an attack damage dealing focused team on Fav with a whole bunch of ER because I don't want to think about her. And of course, Escoffier needs to burst consistently, by the way, in this team because she's, you know, the healer for the team as well. 142 ER, I'm hoping, is good enough. Crit rate wise, but stop slippery. Get your dang chef under control, Jane. Anyways, this is a whole lot of crit. In case you didn't notice, we're using Homa, and we're using 4-piece Marshal's Hunter. It gives crit rate when HP is changing, because Farina, is it the best artifact set option for doing this? Not necessarily. Her build will have to change quite a bit, potentially for her melt teams, but we'll worry about that after we play around with this team. Before we head to the Abyss, I just want to do a quick test to see how our energy situation is. There we go. Lolly. Scroll buff up. Wham. And blap. And what's the burst hit? It didn't crit. Nice. Ooh, 30. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I thought our attacks would be doing about that much damage. That's, you can see after we lost T1's Lolly buff, you know, we fell down to like, 10k normal attacks, which is honestly still pretty good for, like, without a flat buff going on. But yeah, the flat buff is exaggerating things a little bit. But, still level 6 talent, yada yada. That was plenty, and I think our ER is fine. I think this build will all work out. In fact, we probably have an excess of ER on our other characters. We can min-max things, but I'm not going to. Well, if we didn't have enough ER then, we definitely have some now. Wait, okay. I'm gonna choose the one that's only effective this chamber. Alrighty. Let's see how we do. Do that. This thing might die before we even switch over. Bam. It didn't. Okay, that's good. Alright, bam. Well, now it's... Yep, okay. I mean, I feel like whatever you do in Escoffier's full Hydro Cryo teams, you're just always successful. It doesn't even matter. Okay. We just do shield breaking for a minute straight. Okay. Left them out a little bit early, but that's fine. Do your shield. Come on. There. Okay. Lap. Another benefit of not using Chongyun, by the way, is Candace is not circle impacty at all. So you get more freedoms, and more freedom is good. All right, I didn't have to do that. But, well, actually, the fact that you can do that, that's another fab trigger in Candace. Like my ER needs are definitely lower than I have. That was just, like, really compelling. Compelling enough that I'm extremely confident this could be a more than pleasing enough team without C1's Hit Lolly. That's quite fun. I don't even think you need C6 Candace meaningfully, because it's not like Candace's damage or Hydro application is that important here, right? I have Homa. I'm going to choose the HP. Wow, that was actually the fastest I've ever cleared that with that team. Hello. This should be satisfying. We'll get some melts against the one dude. Alright, this. Bam. Clap. And go down. Okay. See what... Oh, look at that 90k. Okay, this is quite fun. Look at 115k. Okay. For once, I'm glad this Hydro, or this Pyro thing is here. Okay. We got a burst. Oh wait, we don't really have to burst. Because I can't speak. I've lost all sanity. We're gonna freeze it. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, this seems pretty good. I must admit, I've tested a whole bunch of like Escoffier Hydro Cryo teams with different units on field. I don't know, it just plays in an enjoyable way and does a lot of damage. Like, I don't even have that crazy of a Farina build going right now. I don't know. If I wasn't planning to do Melt Escoffier as well, this video is going to be very, very short. I think I mentioned this before, by the way, but I'm going to mention this again. I also don't have a fully invested Escoffier, right? And like, it's kind of functionally a fully invested Escoffier anyways, because, of my constellations, but I don't know. Yeah, we're kind of doing pretty all right. All right, I think we do need to get a little bit more particles. What is the rotation time here, by the way? I think, oh, you can do, yeah, you can do it. I just realized. So I really like fast rotation teams. If you don't have enough, you need extra ER to be able to do faster rotations on Farina, because she does have a 15-second burst cooldown. But you can do 15-second rotations with this team, which I think is super cool. I don't think I have been doing 15-second rotations, by the way, because honestly, like, we're doing enough damage that just really doesn't matter. Obviously. But yeah, there you go. I don't know. It's actually like, she feels good, the normal attack, and you get pretty satisfying damage. Like, yeah. We'll go switch over to doing some Melt DPSing, but I don't know. It's kind of hard to see her normal attack animations in the visual mess of all the other things going on, of course, all the numbers on screen. But yeah, I don't know. This character feels a lot better to do, DPSing than DPSing Candace, right? Candace, to be clear, I like DPSing as well, but in different ways than Escoffier. Although, let me know in the comments if you want to revisit DPS Candace. It's been a while since I've actually played DPS Candace. I forgot to mention earlier that I did an attack percent goblet, because I wanted to benefit both the hydro and cryo damage there. So for Melt Escoffier, there's a lot of options actually, which might be unintuitive to you because, you know, if you're used to thinking about Melt DPSs for a cryo unit at least, in the context of like Risley or someone like Ganyu, one thing you might not realize is that if you have C6 Bennett, he can give a Pyro Infusion to a melee unit, right? Which, you know, of course, Escoffier is. So we can have Pyro infused normal attack damage, and that Pyro application we have from her normal and charge attacks can be enough Pyro application to enable herself to melt, and therefore we have a lot more team options because we don't have to like put in some other form of off-field Pyro. We can, theoretically at least, get away with just the Pyro application from C6 Bennett, and that opens up a team slot. It means I can potentially do something like with Shenhe, and there might be a problem with her cryo application consuming the Pyro, but I think it'll be fine. And the last slot can be, I don't know, Shilonen. You can also do like a VV unit, Kazuha, or Sucrose. We could just do more off-field Pyro, of course. I could probably have made a video just about Melt Escoffier. I like finding places for Shenhe to be used, and I think I actually am going to use Sucrose. I do have C2 Shilonen. She would give 60% crit damage to Escoffier. It's almost assuredly better. I mean, go figure. If I feel like this team is performing really terribly or something, I'll probably switch. But I like the idea of Sucrose with her EM share and whatever. I do think variations of Burn Melt would be interesting too. But the reason I bring up the Burn Melt context with like Emily or Nahida is this set exists. Because there is a problem of what artifact set do we use on Escoffier in this team context, because she's going to be doing most of her damage through her cryo like skill damage, right? She's also doing burst damage. 4-piece Golden Troop still will work on field, but the 70% bonus, you know, turns into 45% bonus after 2 seconds. So this set would just be more if you have burning going on, right? So you get more damage bonus total and some additional attack, which would just make it meaningfully better, right? Unfortunately, I do not have a full build for a set of this, so I can't really test that. So my options are either 2-piece combos or just sticking with 4-piece Golden Troop. Alright, there we go. 4-piece Troop. This is actually the same as my normal build on Escoffier with one key difference. Since we're using her on field and we can hopefully funnel energy particles from Shenhe to Escoffier, I don't think I'm going to need more than 130 with the double cryo team here. But anyways, I put an EM timepiece on, not because I think it's objectively better, but just because it's going to give us slightly bigger melt numbers. The reason it's not necessarily objectively better is because there's going to be at least half of her skill hits not melting. I am actually running an attack percent circlet, by the way, which is just because I don't have a crit damage circlet available. Alright, this idea is just to get some damage going there while we do setups, because we have 20-second uptime anyways. Alright, and... ooh, okay, so it's going to be a little bit tricksy. Okay, I think... so I'm going to restart. You saw we actually did have enough cryo application to keep up. That's a problem with doing my started rotation with her E, I guess. Okay, try this again. This. Also try to use a Sucrose normal attack. Okay, do that, and then do that. Yeah, okay, yep, we did have fire on it, so this should melt. I didn't see a damage number from it because I don't know if it didn't crit or something. That is fine, I suppose. Waiting game. That. Alright, do that. Do this, I think, this time. Actually, oh, that's going to screw up my... oh, no, we got... oh, good, we got Pirate. That's actually very good. Flap. Okay. Do this. I think I bungled that by not doing a normal attack. Whoopsies. 60k melt, though. Not bad. I think this was clunkier than I expected with Sucrose. Actually, okay, I don't really think it's a Sucrose problem. I think that Shenhe's extra cryo is causing a little bit of a problem. But I really want to make Shenhe work with Mel, so I'm going to keep trying with that. Very obvious option. Throw in some extra off-field pyro. So maybe I should just do that. I do have my Muika on 4-piece Cinder City, so, you know, we'll get the buff going from her. I am not going to burst on my Muika because I don't want to. This, flap. Alright, and, oh, zap me immediately. Okay. And burst, bam, yep, there we go. 200k mel, that's what I wanted to see. Okay, and where does he use C6 Bennett to go to town? Flap. There we go, doing a much better job with the shield this time, because we have constant application from everyone. Flap. Oh, you butthole. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Alright, start with this. Ooh, get out the bike. Alright, do this. Should break the shield very fast. And bam. Alright, nice. Nice. Yeah, we're getting as much damage as we were before. To be clear, I might have scuffed the setups or whatever. Okay, do that. I just realized I've been totally forgetting to do a second Shenhe skill. That is absolute stupid on my part. So we do a second Shenhe skill there, and it's dead. Yeah, there you go. That's a much more comfortable version of a Melt team. Alright, do that. Alright, boots on the loose. Alright, I just swapped it really too early, whatever. Okay, this. By the way, there's some tech you can do to make sure this thing doesn't teleport, which is by staying behind its eye. Do that. Okay. Alright. Switch back to you. Nice 100k melt. Alright. How? I'm so annoyed that I didn't get it. I'm so annoyed that I didn't get a fab proc there. I'm so annoyed by that. Oh my gosh. Okay, I think we might be fine if we just do some like, normal charge attacks, but you know, we're not fine. Well, okay. You know what? Frick the way-ups, okay? It's stupid. What I hate way-ups. Whatever. Okay. Flap. Way-up just like effed up my entire existence there. We're still gonna clear without a problem. And maybe not without a problem. No, we're fine. Easy, no problem. Use my energy before the next chamber. But hey, I didn't Mawika Burst, okay? Obviously, Mawika Burst would help solve that problem. Also, just having my energy up into the one Fab proc or Shenhe skill up would have also had my burst up for Escoffier. Anyways, just gonna make the burst rotation a little bit sadder looking. We're fine with that. Alright. And that. Switch to Shenhe. Yeah, look at that. I got my burst back. I'm gonna save my burst now, of course. We were doing single target damage there, by the way, which is not that big a deal. Alright. Flap. Where are you? Okay, of course you immediately went outside of Shenhe's circle. That's 224k. I didn't catch those particles properly, and I'm terrible. Alright, well. Just die, please. You're being annoying. Please. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Do this. I think we... Yeah, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. I'm stupid. I think I bungled this rotation, but I want to properly restart a rotation here. This. Stop roly-poling. Alright. And bam. 200k. That was not 200k. I think I might not have been Bennett buff. It's fine. Everything's fine. Gameplay. Okay. The gameplay is bad. Okay. As I kind of thought, I think Melt Escoffier a little bit trickier to play, but like also not hard at all when I did double pyro. Definitely tricksy when I didn't have some off-field pyro going on, right? I'm very confident I could have done like Pyro Traveler, and Pyro Traveler I wouldn't mind using their burst on. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna go use Pyro Traveler. This is a DPS Pyro Traveler build, by the way, on 4-piece Obsidian Codex. You know what? Here, let's even power down Escoffier a little bit. 1, to get her burst back more comfortably. And 2, because she's strong enough. Next, I think we do something like this instead this time. This. Flap. Do this. Alright. This. Alright. And then bam. Ah, that does work. Nice. The rotation is a little weird, but it does work. I should be using Power Traveler. Okay. Let's see here. We do Shenhe. Bennett. This. Do you. Do this. Alright, and bam. Nice. I love that you can melt both of their bursts. That's so fun. Oh, we didn't have a skill going. Alright, there you go. That. Bam. I really love the dynamic of this team, not gonna lie. Oh, it's really good. It's a little weird for balancing the field time for the different units. But I'm just gonna wait for this here. Okay, that. And blap, blap. Okay, and do this. And bam. Oh, I don't have energy? That's annoying. Okay, well this one's not gonna melt. Oh, it did melt. Okay, oh boy, okay. And yeah, I gotta figure out that. I don't know. I'm not gonna say like Shenhe is necessarily actually the best slot in here. I kind of feel like I might prefer Sitlolly, particularly because I have C1 here. C1 Sitlolly. But of any of the teams I tried here, I know I'm yapping and I'm not really playing the game properly here. I actually like enjoy this one the most right now. Funnily enough, particularly because I don't know, I can like have Escoffier on a normal build here, right? And it just kind of works. What am I doing? My brain isn't functioning. It's fine. The previous chamber was definitely a better showing. All right, do this, and we can do this. Bam, do that. Okay, let's do that. Bam. I don't know. That whole dynamic there, getting melts on both their bursts, and then you know it's just really good. I don't know. I think Shenhe might not be the perfect choice here. Is kind of all it really is, but it was not a challenge for me to clear with the investment I have on my character builds, at least. The Pyro Traveler team there was a one-off thought that I had in place of Muika because of, you know, the fun of just doing and like you could do Muika in the same way, but Muika ends up stealing the show if you start on-fielding her too much, whereas it didn't feel like Pyro Traveler was stealing the show, right? It felt like a more balanced approach, so I don't know. That last team was not really main DPS Escoffier. This character is really strong. Expect to see her in my videos in various forms over the coming weeks, but just honestly into the future. She's one of those like core, very, very versatile. Like she works outside of just Hydro Cryo teams in case it's not abundantly clear. And she team-wide heals, on top of at minimum a little bit of red shred buffing. And that first 5-10% red shred, if you have no red shred at all, is the most important red shred. And she basically always does that. Yada yada. This is a really versatile character, even for on-fielding things. Like, in a funny way, her on-field DPS potential is high enough. It kind of replaces the need to get another on-field cryo DPS, is what I would say. Because she herself can be configured to be doing on-field damage. And I didn't even do Chongyun things, and I'm sure Chongyun things work pretty well. This character is pretty good. You might want her for future cryo DPSs too, who knows. Have a wonderful day.